And I'll be back after you guys have decided on that. Anyone else? All right, moving on to item number 3, the agenda status report. Are there any changes to their agenda?
We have no changes on the agenda.
Thank you. All right, well, with that, we'll move on to the minutes of May 19th. You guys were provided in your packets the recorded minutes for the 19th meeting. You guys have hopefully have had a chance to review those. Or would you like to make any modifications or changes to those meeting minutes? Okay to me.
Looks fine. I had no issue.
Then with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes for May 19th. So second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. So moved. All right, moving on to the NBAR members' informational briefings. Has anyone had any contact with applicants or staff? All right, hearing silence, we'll move on to the staff update.
Good morning. The update I have for today, some of you may have heard that we're transitioning to full online submittal process. And the portal for that will open up on the 5th. So next Wednesday. It's exciting for a number of reasons, but if you've had personal experience submitting, you have to request a box link, things can get lost. There's different streams of communication, right? So the idea is that, when you're ready to submit, you open up the case yourself, you enter all the information, upload the required documents. And when you get to that document page, everything you have to submit, no matter what, is right there. You click on it, you upload it, easy. There's no back and forth with, oh, you forgot the indemnification agreement. It's all there. And then when you need to resubmit later, you resubmit through the same, you log into your account, you click on the case, you add more documents. We have a lot of people that, send links to a Dropbox and often things get caught in the spam filter. It's hard to keep track of these multiple strings of communication. So it's an intent to simplify and improve customer service as a result. Other than that, I add another item, but it's escaping me at the moment.
Will that system be for both planning and building?
Planning and building, yep, and the same profile for both.
What about fire and
Yeah, so there are a lot of other departments coming on to Acela or that are already on Acela. So we'll be able to transmit plans and fees to them automatically, which will be an improvement for plan transmittal. But as far as submitting like your FPC permit, I don't think that you can do that yet through, but you can still apply through building and they'll aid you with that process.
Well, hopefully it'll work better than the previous system.
And I do think it's an improvement. Like we had to adapt pretty quickly with COVID to set up some sort of online submittal process using Box and email and Acela, all separately, but together. And that was kind of fraught with just opportunities for things to get miscommunicated or lost in translation. So this should be an improvement.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item is the consent agenda. If one of you would like to take over, I'll see y'all later.
First item on the list, 23 bar 00060, Vienna Cito sign. It's a consent agenda item. Do we have any more discussion, any more? Somebody gonna present it, or are we going?
I don't
think, was there somebody gonna be
I mean, I don't think there's any comments from the previous one. I think it was just
Tom Martinez, architect for the project. I understood that we just needed to come back because it wasn't agendized as a plan. So we just
that's my recollection.
go through the dotted i's and dotted t's.
Then
I make a motion then?
seeing no discussion, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approved C1 and bar 23 EAR 0060.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. The second item, 23 bar 00065, the Solomon Hills Vineyard sign. Mr. Martinez?
Tom Martinez, architect, pretty much the same issue. I know there was also the additional item for clarification, was some additional photos showing better proximity because a couple of the members weren't certain where the sign was going.
Did any of the members of the board get a chance to look at those? Did everybody get a chance to look at them?
We're looking at. We did submit some additional photos showing the overall as you were heading south, where you could see the top of the hill. Photo number one, as you're heading south, the sign it's actually cresting right there, so you really can't see it until you get right next to it. Photo number two, and at that point, it's elevated. So if you're driving, it's almost impossible to see. Clarification was really more so from the northbound, where it was in proximity to Clark. So in number two photo, you can see we're approaching where the sign is, and the trees really is the location where Clark Avenue is coming into the picture. So as you're proceeding, photo number three, you'll see that little hump on the hill. Right there is where that sign is going.
And this was on the frontage road.
That is correct. It's on the east side of the frontage road.
And you lowered this about a foot, it looks like,
Yes, correct.
and it didn't have, was this the one that had the swoop?
No, the other Cito was the swoop, and then the owners wanted this one to just be split. This was just to depict the style of the stucco that was going to be going, not necessarily the curve, because though it was the same stucco pattern, et cetera, that we're using in Bendocino.
Any other comments or discussion?
Well, that's okay to me. I would have kind of toned down the white that you've got. The Hopper crystal white, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's fine.
Again, very subjective. The white will collect some dust and they're aware of it. We talked to the cap about the caps, with the dust, and they're aware of it.
Well, that wasn't gonna be visible from the freeway. It's just that it's gonna be very visible as a white. It's a big white thing, but I'm okay because the sign's not that big.
Yeah,
When
white
Santa
one.
Maria is
That's a
blowing
bright
dust, it's not going to be white for long.
No, I'm not talking about.
I can assure you.
You see my body.
Can I have a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve C2 23 BAR 00065 on consent.
Second,
Sure.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Right, thank you, gentlemen. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Is Mike back for item number 3? We need to call him.
Have my speed dial.
Oh, I didn't know this out. When the chair gets back, I'll give a brief precursor to this one because it came directly from CBAR. You guys have never seen it before.
That was good. Better believe it.
We didn't. Of course you did.
So just to as we jump into this item, it's a single family dwelling. It's reviewed a number of times by CBAR. And it happened to be scheduled for final on consent for CBAR right before the shift to send it to NMAR. So that we included the comments that CBAR had previously made here, and the planner is also in attendance to answer any questions you might have about the prior hearings.
Where is it, Shannon?
Oh, let me bring it up. And Adam Ortiz, the planner on this one.
That was the extent of the comments, the three, A, B, and C from Seaboard.
At the final meeting, yes.
Did you have, were there multiple rounds of changes, or was?
The planner memo goes through all of the meeting comments and the changes that were made.
Thank you.
Would you like to see the memo or the plans first?
Just, where is it?
It's in Los Alamos and it's, yeah,
Men's Club is
Yes.
St. Joseph, Leslie Street. It's right behind Bell Street on the east side.
So it's up the hill there.
What was Ensberg's opposition?
Adam's here too, and he would have probably attended that meeting, so maybe he can speak to why there was a member opposed.
Curious.
Ben McDonald, he's the property owner and architect for the project. He might recall better than I can. This meeting was a long time ago. Ben, are you on the call by any chance? Can you speak towards that?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I am. Could you repeat the question?
The question was, what Ensberg was opposed to with the project?
Oh, you mean one of the board members? I don't know the specifics of that.
No, it's not a big deal.
Okay, so looking at this, I hope you've had the chance to review just the last three comments from the June meeting. And if we can direct our review just to those three. If you have any comments on those. I'd like to move this forward. Yes.
I'll move for approval.
Okay. Then I'll ask now, after prior review of this before the meeting, I'll ask now for a motion to.
Hold on, I had a question, Mike.
Okay,
So comment number A and comment number C, both pretty mundane. But comment B, this is a particularly unique project with potential impact to the community due to its location. Who made the comment? What were they talking about? And what was their concern?
I think,
Hey,
oh, go ahead, Adam, sorry.
oh, that's okay. I can't recall who made the comment, unfortunately. Perhaps Ben McDonald can. I can kind of speak towards the uniqueness of the project. It is visible from certain public viewing angles down in Los Alamos. That's pretty much the only aspect I recall them talking about when it, as far as the uniqueness of the project. Ben, do you have anything more to add?
Yeah, I mean, I put in a slide there. It's sheet A101. And this really sort of sums up the main view that CBAR was interested in during my 5 meetings with them. And yeah, right there. And essentially, over the course of those meetings with CBAR, they were looking to lower the house further than it was proposed originally. It was never proposed to exceed the height limits, but they wanted it lower. And they wanted more screening from this one view at the end of Centennial Street. So this sort of shows where the project ended up. It did end up pushing 18 inches lower than original. The size of the project shrunk in floor area, and some evergreen trees were planted for some additional screening from this particular view.
Thank you, Ben.
Was this project Hillside Ridgeline?
It looks like it. Adam,
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. We were, as far as the height goes, I think an important note to take, this project is in the urban areas, so we were, the applicant was able to take advantage of a 25 height requirement for the structure, which is, I believe, Ben, you're actually maybe a few feet below that.
Yeah, we're well below that, and I'm still showing all those grade lines on the exterior elevations. If you like on sheet A201, you can see how pushed down it is.
I'm familiar with Ridgeline.
Yeah. So that dashed red line above. So it averages, the main house averages 2 to 3 feet below the height limit, and the garage is more like 5 feet below the height limit.
All right, thank you very much. With those clarifications, I'll ask now for a motion to approve this project.
I did.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, now we will move on to the standard agenda items. We're now going to review the objective zoning and design standards discussion. Shannon?
I believe we have Brianna joining us from Long Range Planning.
Good morning. This is actually Lila Spring from Long Range Planning. Brianna's out on vacation. But I'm here today to talk about these objective design standards that were adopted earlier this year for multi-unit and mixed housing developments that are otherwise exempt from discretionary design review. So earlier this year, the board passed these set of standards for the Land Use and Development Code, and we are now in the process of developing similar standards for the Montecito Land Use and Development Code and the Coastal Zone. And there's also some additional legislation, SB 9, that requires objective design standards be applied to single family homes under certain circumstances. So separately, we are also developing those. And what we are looking for from you all today is someone that has an interest in providing feedback for us on these standards. So we are going to all of the different BARs and asking for a representative. And the idea would be that you would attend 1 or maybe 2 meetings and provide some feedback at that time on both these standards and then ideally the SB 9 standards as well.
Okay. Volunteers?
Jim?
Jim?
Kevin's not here.
Well, I know his vote.
No, no, that's not what I mean. Where would this meeting be taking place?
It would be remotely. You wouldn't have to go
That's fine.
anywhere.
Thank you.
Slippers.
Would these objective things be applied? We wouldn't do them. They would be done by planning, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is when projects that would not come to you.
Yeah, the standards are already there, so.
They just need more refinement.
Yeah, I think what Lila was saying is we have the existing multifamily ones for the LUDC, but then they're not incorporated into the coastal ordinance, Article 2, or the Montecito Land Use and Development Code yet. And then because of the way that SB 9 is written, we also need some objective standards for single family homes.
Would
So it'd be,
would those standards then be applied to some of the projects like we've previously seen that were really exempt from coming before us, but we're here on?
yeah, one example is the Keysite H project by AMG, that affordable housing project at the end of Foster Road. If that came in now, it would be subject to the existing multifamily development standards that that Lila mentioned that the board adopted, I believe, in December. They went into effect in January.
John, you mentioned single family homes. Where would single family homes ever apply in this? This is all for MROs and stuff like that.
Yeah, the multifamily apply to, multifamily development, they have 2 or more units. However, SB 9 is a bill that allows ministerial subdivision from 1 lot to 2 in certain circumstances. And it also allows you to build a home ministerially. And so the single family dwellings developed pursuant to that law, we can only apply objective standards, and they can't come to a body like BAR because you make subjective findings. So we have only seen one of these so far, I believe. And maybe Lila knows of more, but it hasn't happened often, but we should have something in place for the rare circumstances.
It would be interesting to see the criteria that would lead to that, to the single family home in this instance.
Sure,
Must be
yeah.
Pretty difficult to weave that, thread that needle.
It's, what SB 9 does is it lays out a series of, location requirements and size requirements also. And, you can only do it if you're not in high fire, not near a blue line creek. There's a number of criteria, that get you to that point.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Shannon, with respect to SB 9, I don't want to get too off target, but does it matter if it's vacant or not? If it's a vacant lot?
Sorry, I'm having an issue with my visas, but it doesn't matter if it's vacant or not. No, it doesn't matter if it's vacant or not, as long as it can meet the location requirements.
So then these would also apply to both lots. If it's a vacant lot, you split it.
Right. So if you were to split a vacant lot that had no existing single family development, and you wanted to apply under SB 9 to build out those lots, you could use that process. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so Jen, you'll take care of that.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Oh, okay, moving on to the second item on today's standard agenda, 23 VAR 00069, the Violetti single family dwelling and garage. If the applicant is available, please introduce yourself for the record and begin your presentation.
I'm Pete Newman, I'm the applicant. I don't know if I have a presentation, but so this is conceptual, right? And Jim, I think you've been up there years ago with the previous owner. We looked at building a house in the basic location.
I don't remember. Is that across the street from the Goring's house? Is it in Elkhorn?
No, this is you drive up Okie, I call it Okie Flats, but behind Okie Flats, you go up Ridgeview Road. And it's up there in the hill. It's actually below Presqu'île.
Oh, I remember. Okay,
Yeah,
different project.
and Presqu'île, you can kind of see the winery from the 101, I think. This house, I think you'll kind of see, my opinion is you'll see the ADU more than you'll see the main house. If you just drive up north on 101 and look up there, you know where you're looking. But anyway, Mr. Viola bought the lot, but he did well. But before we went too far, I wanted to get sort of a feel for you guys.
Maybe if we go down to the elevation.
Yes.
And one thing that he wanted that I wanted to bring up, I think if I and I think Presqu'île might have a dark colored roof. I don't know. I think it's black, but he wanted, that's the color that he was leaning toward, was like a blacker tile roof and a more, you see a lot of it now when you look around, and lighter colors, like a whiter siding on the house. And we could mix it up. I mean, we didn't get too crazy drawing it here, but lighter colors on the body of the house, darker trim and a darker roof. And I wanted to bring that up just because I'm guessing earth tones probably might be something that you might feel makes more sense, but I didn't want to get too deep in with the owner and getting their expectation up, just to be, the answer is no.
Well, for DP, a black and white house up there is appropriate. You need to go into the more earth tones.
Okay. It is the like on the roof, if I looked at, and I'm not, if I looked at Presqu'île's, and maybe they're a brown, I can't tell, a brownish black. I mean, will that fly? Or does it we need to say not black?
Not black would be good.
Okay.
I think you may also have a concern with the California Energy Commission cool roof requirements.
Right.
So make sure you do check.
Yeah,
The darker the roof, the,
harder. Yeah,
I mean, they want you to have a white roof, but.
right.
And in terms of the body color, white's fine, but not bright white.
Right.
Way down the list, like into Navajo kind of color.
Yeah. Okay,
Acceptable.
okay.
Pete, I think the overall final, perspective is, what does it actually look like from someplace that somebody can see it? If you're telling us that we can see it from 101, that's one of the bigger purviews of the, what do they call it, the site corridor, Mike? Is that that's
View
the
corridor.
view corridor? So that's where it gets to be more scrutinized the more you can see from that, the more scrutiny it gets.
Right,
All the way around, that's
right,
it's something that looks nice and blends into the surroundings and is appropriate for the area is gonna go through, obviously.
right.
But, if it's like something that's way different, sometimes different is great, but, sometimes it gets a lot of scrutiny before you can
Right,
get to the final
okay,
finish line.
If you want some conceptual feedback, you've got a little roof that does this little clear story over the garage, and you've got it in another place. You should look into fiddling with that even more. You can be really attractive. And you didn't do it across ones. I would look at it some more and try to enhance it. You've got a wraparound porch in the front, but the left side of it is kind of got a dead end. There's no door over there or anything. Sometimes you have to have circulation for it to be used effectively.
Okay.
Otherwise you just store old furniture over there or something.
right,
On
okay.
the back of the house, there's views everywhere in this thing, right? Pretty much.
There really are, and you live here, obviously. I mean, so it has you can see the ocean, 3 days a year.
And that's from the bottom, that's from the rear view.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you just played up the front, but the house doesn't have a front. It's got 4 sides.
right,
So try to make each one of them equally interesting,
okay,
because they're gonna appreciate it. They're gonna be doing stuff on every side of the house and, you know, they're only gonna really appreciate it from one side. You
Right,
shouldn't do it that way on a house, on a building, on a house like this.
okay,
Maybe even trellises or decks in the back. That's north, I think, the bottom one.
yeah, I'd
Don't
say,
need sun, but, you know, make
it's,
that a nice, interesting elevation too.
okay. Yeah, so the rear you'll see driving up the road, and then I guess you'll see the left driving up the road. Once you're past it, you don't see the right, you definitely don't see the front.
But that elevation is gonna view downhill, down slope.
Yes,
And it goes across the freeway, probably the other side of it. So
yeah,
it's got beautiful
it
views.
does,
So, you know, enhance it,
Okay.
make it nicer.
okay,
Those are probably the view rooms from like the living room and stuff. which
yes,
is cool.
yeah, your dining room, your great room,
Yeah,
master bedroom,
but there's more gonna be done on that.
Yeah.
Just trying to give some
okay, I appreciate
conceptual
it,
feedback.
yeah.
I have a comment and a question. With such a large piece of property and a fairly significant size house, is there a specific reason for having the 3-car garage entrance right at the front of the house?
Well-
Instead of approaching it from the side?
Trees. So if you go back to that right there, if we were to look on the right-hand side, the road sort of wraps up around the right-hand side. And between the garage and the road is oak trees, so it'd be cleaning out oak trees. And I actually, Dave Daniels owned this property. I bought it from Dave Daniels during the lot split. I owned it for quite a while and then sold off this piece before, and then Joseph bought it from the guy we sold it to. But yeah, so between the house and that road is a grove of trees, oak trees. So that would be the reason to answer your question.
The other consideration on this lot is that they're building envelopes and the road easement, I think, is established, right? So
Yes.
you're a little bit constrained by where you can enter.
And you haven't really thought about where your guests are gonna park and all that stuff, so kind of enhance that on there too.
And there's more I didn't show. The driveway, if you look, there's like a little fire truck turnaround there. There's actually, and I didn't show it because I don't think it met the fire department standards. There's actually a paved loop just below that. It's probably 100-foot. Gosh,
Probably bigger than that.
it's plenty big enough for a fire truck. It just isn't narrow enough. But I think there's, and I can show that next time. There's plenty of there's places for them to park.
Show all that stuff, show where the existing trees are.
Yeah,
It would also be helpful for you, I think, to just list on there where your primary views are.
yeah,
You've got wind issues that you need to think about too. If you're gonna be sitting out in the back looking across, from the north, because north on this is to the left, right?
north would be,
You're gonna get wind from right into your back where your views are and stuff. So
yeah,
think about where you're gonna plant trees and how you're gonna live out there, how they're gonna enjoy it.
right,
Work all that out.
okay,
So, Mr. Newman, my only suggestion would be to study your roof a little bit more,
okay,
maybe in terms of perhaps simplifying it. You have hips, gables, offset gables. There's a lot of things happening there.
okay,
I think, I'm personally like simplicity a lot of times on these roofs, so, and especially if you're gonna use trusses up there, so.
right,
It might behoove you to kind of study that and how they work together.
sure, okay. I like them simple too, actually.
Can we also see the rear elevation again? Please. Where those main view corridors are. Is there going to be a patio area out there, and is there going to be an overhang to provide shelter from the sun?
There's gonna be a patio area. I don't know that we discussed it as far as the overhang goes, but I think that plays into Jim's comment a little bit. And maybe that would be a nice place for a cover.
I mean, it looks a little naked right now.
Right, right.
This isn't ridgeline, it's pretty flat up there, right?
No, well, I think Ridgeline's pretty broad, right? It probably just about, if it's 5 or 10 acres in Santa Barbara County, it probably is Ridgeline, but
I didn't.
I think it was
drop that.
conditioned to go here because of if we went back to the beginning, I think Dave Daniels actually brought a house up, just like a Bel Air mansion sitting up there originally trying to get it approved. And he went through this years ago, but
But on the site, on the topo map, it didn't look like it dropped that much.
what's the?
100 feet, 16, within a, what is it, 100
No,
feet?
20-foot drop at 100 feet.
It's conditioned on the map. You know,
Yeah, and Francisco is the, Vargas is the planner, and I don't know if you've met him before, but he is, online and can speak to whether Hillside Ridgeline applies. I think it's only sent because the map requires.
Yeah, I don't, it's a 16-foot drop within 100 feet of the house.
Yeah.
I don't think it drops that much.
It doesn't drop that bad. Yeah.
No, there's a topo.
Yeah, but
a
there,
topo on there, but I didn't look to me.
but there is, it was a condition of the map.
And that's from the point around the house, like
The,
16-foot drop.
yeah, that's what it might be. In any event.
You probably forget roof wise, because I think with the pitch, you don't have 25 feet, I think you're under that, so.
No, I think we're under about, I think there might be a thing on the map for 19, actually. And that was on the map also. And I don't know if that was driven because of the original submittal.
Was it an old map? Because originally height was figured differently.
It was.
I don't know.
It was an average.
Yeah, it was, no one that old, because I'm not that old, right?
No.
So it was like, it's a map with conditions, so that means it's not that old, because the old maps don't have conditions. But,
Hello there. Yeah, this is Francisco Vargas with the county planning. So it is a fairly older map, if you want to call it that. It's from 2009. So, and it does, Shannon was right. The map has conditions for it to go to bar. It wasn't necessarily, we didn't look at Hillside Ridgeline. It may be applicable, but the map condition indicated it had to go to BAR.
Thank you, Francisco.
For the record, Francisco, I think older has to be like 70s or older. Just for between you and me, okay?
Shannon and Francisco probably don't agree with that.
They have no idea what dialogue sounds like.
I know.
So, does the board have any other additional comments?
Just a question, does this also have to have landscaping?
No. But if I can answer it.
Are you talking to the landscape architect?
Well, if I had a landscape architect, it's Kevin,
Right.
and he'd show up today, but, no, we haven't got that far. I mean, I don't know if that's in the.
Well, the state actually has preempted that one, so with the WELO requirements. So if you're landscape over 500 square feet, you have to.
Right, I don't think, we're not, but so the answer is no, we're not landscaping. I don't think it's a requirement of the map, and I don't think we're going down that road right now.
Could the planner verify that? For
I am looking at that as we speak. Let's see. Give me a second.
Because if you need to have it, you might as well. No.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any landscaping condition on there.
I'd like now to open discussion to the public that have joined. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment on this particular project?
The owner's here, I don't know if he wants to say anything. They didn't say anything about that.
Yeah, I think the second half would be, no comments.
And we don't have anybody online either. Thank you.
Well, all right.
How big is this house, Pete? It's 3,500 maybe. I think
Maybe 3,500.
And sorry, can I interject? So I did find a condition. It's not a condition, it's part of the project description. It states all plans such as landscape and tree protection plans must be submitted for review and approval and shall be implemented as part of the approved project. So it doesn't say it has to go to BAR specifically, but it says they need to be submitted.
But how close are the folks to the construction site?
they're,
Well, there's a question, right? So we're not gonna get near damaging any of them, but you wouldn't be allowed to have a driveway where we talked. but they're far enough away.
Well, I think the tree protection plan would be, provided.
And we'll do that for sure, but we're still not planning on landscaping, but yeah, we know about that, yeah,
That's part of your buildings.
yes.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
Yeah, quick question for staff. On an ADU of 1,000 square feet, is there a condition that the garage needs to be attached or separate?
Francisco, I can feel that. Okay, yeah, so the accessory structures attached to an ADU, once they're above like 20% of the total structure size, they need a land use permit. But I'm not sure, we probably would take the garage that's attached to the ADU to the BAR, but not the ADU itself, most likely. Does that get at what you were wanting an answer?
How do you look at
So
that?
we review the garage, and review the ADU that's attached to it.
I agree that it's uncomfortable.
I like it.
But Jim, maybe when we come back, maybe we'll bring the plans for that too. We'll incorporate. It's not like how we're gonna build this and not make it look good. He has to drive by it to get to his house, so he wants it to look nice anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just to save time and money, I
Yeah.
just do it all as one submittal.
Yeah, I wasn't aware, and I would have done that. I wasn't aware it had to, and I guess I might have been waiting for direction from planning.
But I can see why we haven't spoken to it yet, because I don't know exactly how the condition on the map reads. If it just says that the single family home has to come, then we wouldn't send it, but maybe Francisco knows like what the condition says.
My concern is
I'm looking into it.
the property, that the garage being co-opted into the size of the house. That's all.
I would think that if you read the condition of the map, that any structure is supposed to go to this board. ADUs, not by my choosing necessarily, seem to be, it's kind of a odd line, right? It's exempt, it's not exempt, you can do this, it's not real clear. But we don't have a problem with it being part of the process. It's not like you're not getting an argument here or nothing like that.
The unfortunate part of it is you'll have to get a separate FTC for each one of those structures.
Yeah,
And pay a separate fee.
yeah.
And also include your grading, what you're gonna do next time.
Okay.
Have your grading stuff. What you're gonna have to do up there.
And it's flat, like that lower pad's flat. There used to be a house there or a modular home there. I think the tanks there for the well, the septic tanks there, I think all that stuff is still there.
Alright. Well, as this is just advisory, you can go ahead and take these comments and run with it. I would suggest that you visit take a look at the pastel colors. Okay, that was the desire of your client. Take a look at those and then kind of reference in Jim's comments as far as variation is concerned. But obviously take a look at it because it's an existing building.
So
up there.
So if I looked at for scale, I can't necessarily make the assumption that those colors are okay, because I think originally Kevin had told me, we had a conversation at one time, just because I have a business relationship with him, that Presqu'île, when they presented their plans originally, the architect, hopefully not sitting up there, swore up and down that you're not going to see it from the freeway, but you do see it from the freeway. So maybe that would have changed the color palette. I don't know, but I mean, does that make sense?
Well, part of it is neighborhood compatibility.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Just take that into advisement and
Okay.
look forward to seeing it again.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Explore around.
Alright, so now we'll move on to item number 3, BAR number 22-00169. the Dish Tier 4A communications facility. If the representative is here, please go ahead and begin your presentation. Did we skip two?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
No, that was two.
One is my election.
Number one.
Hello, this is Jerry Ambrose. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, hi. We're back for a second time on this project at Waller Park there in the Santa Maria area. And you, last time your board had some requests. The first one we have is that you wanted to see additional photo simulations from the interior of the park. And I'm not sure whomever is controlling the board there can pull those up. Sorry.
Yeah, that first one.
What was it that one? No, the first. It was the first one.
Keep going for the, oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we added a few views. All the other views were from the public roads around it, but the new views, as you can see there on the left, 3 and 4 are from the interior. So if someone could scroll down to those views, that would be great. Keep going.
Yeah.
Getting there. Keep
There
going.
we go.
Keep going. Keep going.
You meant to say.
Keep going. There you go. So that's a before, that's an after, and then that's a before, and then that's an after. Before, and then there's the next after. Keep going there. So those views are provided from the pathway that's immediately, I guess, west of the proposed location. You had also asked us to clarify some of the details with the existing wall and the proposed wall around our facility. And if you go back to the project plans and you go to the elevations, I think A5 or A6, I believe. You can go down to there. Yeah, so a little bit up. So what we did is we embedded some photos of the existing wall that's there that we're going to match. It's approximately 9 feet tall. Of course, there's that mound of grass there. So depending on where you stand, either looks a lot shorter or looks to be 9 feet. So it is 9 feet. So we're proposing to match that. And we've clouded some additional changes on our plans there with that wall. You had also asked us to make sure that we had a heavy secure gate, or I'm sorry, door on the enclosure. So we've proposed a solid steel door for the enclosure. And then the last item I had is that the board had recommended some like additional landscaping or new trees. We don't have that vetted out yet. Right now we're getting an arborist report for the sort of immediate area around where the tower is proposed. We're pending receipt of that report. And then we'll work with the county parks on potentially adding some of those additional trees. I can't recall if the idea was to add additional different kinds of trees or to replace trees. I can't recall what the direction was exactly.
Well, I think when we discussed that, there was a concern about the types of trees that were existing out there and the fact that they're more prone to disease and decay.
Yes, correct.
We understand that you don't have control over anything outside that gate. and that you were gonna work with county parks to take a look at what their plan was. And I think all we asked is that rather than replace with like kind, replace with a different species, only because we knew that the difficulties of the existing trees that were out there anyway.
Okay, okay, yeah, then I did not fully vet that out. Yeah, ideally, I could have come back with the county's intent for the future. I don't have that information then.
Okay,
with me.
then Shannon, they have no control over the county parks.
Right,
So how does that affect our final approval?
I think Francisco, that where this comes into play is that we have to make certain policy consistency findings, and some of them are about existing trees that provide screening, and I think Francisco has the relevant policies that he can convey here.
Thanks, Shannon. Francisco County Planning. So our LUDC section 3544-110 D1K actually goes into detail about the landscaping requirements for a project like this. And basically, just to summarize, they are required to minimize obviously impacts to surrounding trees. And if there are any, they have to mitigate for that. But they basically have to provide screening in perpetuity. So whatever's existing there has to be maintained. And if for example, one of those trees is determined to be diseased, or, it would need to be essentially replaced so that aesthetic impacts there is no aesthetic impacts. Does that make sense?
Wasn't one of the comments on this thing that because of the county parks, I remember this thing, I think somebody made a comment, it might even have been me, that said, why don't you donate a few trees to the county parks and let them handle their own replacement by giving them some 5 or 15 gallon trees and said, here, you guys go do what you need to do when you need to do it or where you want to do it, so that these the antenna wasn't trying to do something in parks that they didn't really want to do. Did I remember something down that line?
Gist of the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, they've submitted photo simulations of what their tower is going to look like with or without new trees. My concern is that we're relying on two different agencies, the telecommunications people and parks. So yes, I agree that, they should donate trees. Then the parks decide where and when they're going to put them in.
I think that was the gist of the conversation. Said, hey, look, let's say, I'm just throwing a number, 5 trees. Well, here's 5 trees of 15 gallon nature, and you guys, since you are in control of the parks and you are the county, you guys can basically cover yourselves on what you want to see and where these trees need to go. And Francisco just said in perpetuity, which, basically is forever, but that's kind of difficult. The county needs to step up and take care. If they're going to allow a cell site there for as long as cell sites exist, then they need to be the ones that actually decide what tree needs to stay and what tree needs to go without any input from the cell site. And I'm assuming that tax dollars that funnel through this thing will sufficiently take care of anything in the future if they donated X number of trees at the get-go.
Well, as county parks would have to adhere to the same guidelines with regards to this cell site, meaning that the screening of it.
Except that county parks isn't the applicant. Francisco, how does the policy start? Does it say who, does it indicate responsibility?
No, it just it's basically states the facility shall be constructed and maintained as such.
It might be a helpful exercise to look back at the photo sims and determine which trees are the key ones that are providing screening that might need to be replaced in the future.
We don't know their conditions. I mean, the condition of the trees.
Right.
They need to interface with the Parks Department and find out what they want to do long-term, the kind of trees that they want to have there in the future. Then that goes for the actual cell site. They've got certain needles that they put on there to match certain tree colors. You know, to know what kind of trees are going to be there, determine, you know, we're going to have a mismatched fake tree with a bunch of real trees. This one also looks a lot like a scrub brush. And it seems like the ones I've seen in the past had a little more conical shape. I don't know if that's just the manufacturer or whatever, but man.
In other words, you guys are putting a condition on the guys that are putting a cell site in there that they need to work with Parks, which probably is the most difficult agency to work with because they're always changing personnel and they don't have any one set thing that they do in any one set location. So you're trying to do something in perpetuity that these guys have no control over. You're leaving yourself open for the cell site company when a tree dies to have to come back. I could see, oh, well, you're supposed to replace the screening trees in like kind. And like Jim said, these things don't just grow overnight. Well, you go ahead and bring in a 40-foot tall tree. Well, that's unpractical and unrealistic. You've got to give the Parks Department the ability to plant the kind of trees they want and do it on their schedule without impacting the cell site, in my opinion.
I can speak to a county park site facility in Bolita with a similar project, and they did propose some additional trees around the proposed facility. And they have, I know that they bonded, or there were identified specific trees that were providing integral screening as determined by the I think it's SBAR. And then they bonded for replacement of those if they were in poor health, which he is conducting an arborist report. So we would have that information.
So if the bond is considered adequate, then that would handle the interface.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we would just collect a bond and we'd have permit compliance on these telecom projects for a significant period of time.
We're assuming it's going to be a long period of time.
Perpetuity, I thought.
It's in Utah.
Something like that. So, I mean, as far as we're concerned, I don't know if we can go back to the photo sim where they showed the before and the after.
5 and 6.
So that's the after. And that's the before. So we know exactly what trees are out there now. It looks like the only thing that was added was the fake one. So with that said,
Where's Waldo? There it is.
My question is, can we approve the project and then rely on the bond to maintain the screen?
I think so, as long as we identify what trees might need to be replaced. For example, in this view, you can see there's a significantly large tree right behind on the street side. Maybe we can see that better from, because maybe it's only 2 or 3 trees that are actually important for the screening of this project.
Right, I think when we had our first discussion about this, we talked about Waller Park as a whole and the amount of pine trees that were in decay in the park. So a lot of this kind of goes back to that discussion.
This is preliminary today.
As we move forward. Because quite frankly, the height of the wall is great. I mean, because it is in the park, I like that it's 9, the existing one is 9 feet tall and we're gonna match that one. Hopefully those casual climbers aren't gonna get into that enclosure. But with regards to everything else about the project, I don't see why it just can't move forward.
I agree.
And we, approve it on consent, minding the fact that he still has the arborist report coming in, and we still have the bond to mitigate the screening.
I'm thinking down the same lines you are, Mike, because at the end of the day, it's gotta really, the people that gotta really make the decision have to be Parks Department on the trees that they feel are the ones that are the most important to screen this thing. And we're sitting here looking at a picture and they might say, hey, look, you know what, when we're out there in the field, this is the area that we see that we want to kind of keep this hidden from, and we're not seeing that exactly here. We look from set angles, and sure, they might have different opinions. And Parks needs to be given that responsibility. And I think that Shannon's comment that they've done it before with the bond, I think that kind of lets this thing move forward so that we've done our due diligence and they can actually take care of what they need to do in the future without tying somebody's hands too tight.
Jerry, how close is your arborist report?
I don't have an exact date. They ordered it. It was about 3 weeks ago. So probably it's going to be later in July, maybe mid to late July.
And your arborist is a county approved? I mean, my question is the arborist, the county parks know the arborist and all that kind of stuff? Because I want to make sure, I'd like to move the project forward. And I don't see any issue with, there are a number of different trees out there. You know how much I love a brush.
Yes.
Tree.
That's another question I'm gonna ask.
But, I don't see that we're not going to approve it. And I just want to make sure that the bond is in place, or the bond will be in place by the time of permit issuance. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I still like them to interface with the park somehow, to make sure that they're not putting a tree in that they have no future plans to put in. If they put a pine tree in a budget in a deciduous area or something, just to talk to them. The other question I have is for my own information, I guess, is it seems like it's a more bottle brush kind of a tree than I've seen in the past. Do different manufacturers have different shapes?
Yeah, yes, they all have their own, I guess you would call it a patent. So they're slightly different.
The ones I recall seeing them that had broader bottoms, are those available?
Yeah, so that all comes down to the trees can be ordered with the different branch densities, different branch lengths. All that can be controlled at the manufacturing stage. So if you wanted to say a wider base, more of a Christmas tree style or type, whatever, that can all be implemented with the manufacturing.
So it would be more natural if the bottom branches were wider. I mean, in general, you never see a tree grow like this. Is it just a cost thing?
I don't know. Most of them are like this, though. They are more straight up and down. The ones that I've worked on several, I don't know, tens and hundreds, I don't know how many, but most of them come out like this. And I guess that the shorter the branches, the easier it is to manufacture. Maybe it is less costly, less wind load, with the larger branches, but we can make it more that shape if that's a requirement.
Well, I'd like to see something that looked more natural, for sure, rather than the scrub brush look. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
There looks to me like there might be some other options, if the intent was to go with a pine tree. There are some pine trees in there, and obviously some of the biggest ones. Monterey pine is one of the ones that's having all the problems with the what is it, the pine pitch, the beetles and the pine pitch canker and all that stuff. There are other kinds of pine trees, but if you're looking at this picture, you'll notice that there are a lot of deciduous trees in the foreground. There's a lot of other kinds and shapes of trees. So this is where I'm really feeling like you really kind of want to interface with the Parks Department about what they really would like, and then bring that back to us with the Parks Department recommendation. And I think that's what Jim's trying to get at. Does that make sense, Jerry?
Sure. Yeah, I can have the park representative join the MBAR call.
Okay. So I guess the way I'm hearing it is that we are not as concerned with the wall. But we are concerned with the shape of the tree, and that's going to depend upon your communications with the arborist and parks. So I don't see any reason why we can't move this to final approval pending that additional information.
Yeah.
With that said, I ask for a motion to grant preliminary approval at this time. And final approval pending additional information about the shape of the tree and the arborist report.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right, moving now on to item number 4, VR 230088 Palmerston edition. If the applicant is available, go ahead and introduce yourself for the record.
I'm the building designer, so I can answer any questions you have.
Well, why don't you take us through what you're proposing?
Okay. What we have here is they're in Oak Hill, and they have an existing. That's a cover sheet right there. That's actually the building we're going to be replacing, but we have other pictures that will show it. Can you go down a couple more pages right there? And down at the bottom, just a little bit down there. Oh, I guess that one didn't get it. We have another sheet that shows the existing. Can you scroll up, please? What we have is that building that you saw, the first building, is actually the one on the left. They have an existing RV garage with a 2-car garage, very, very similar to what you're seeing here. The difference is going to be in height and in the distance of the length of the RV structure itself. So, and then what they did is they had it was at the time, it was like a mother-in-law house without a kitchen. Okay, that was permitted at that time. And it had a bathroom and a living room area. What we're proposing to do is we're going to actually remove the existing structure because there's no way we can modify it to meet the needs of the present owner. We're going to actually add a 2-bedroom ADU, which will be just a little bit bigger than what was originally the mother-in-law house type thing. We will have they'll have the original bathroom that would have been in there that they had a full bath before. And we're adding another bath because since the owner purchased the property, they put in one of those small swimming pools, the 16 and 30 by 10 type, 20 type unit, very small. That has been permitted and in place right now. So the whole structure will actually be built around the pool. There'll be a little deck area so that you can have access to the pool just like they have right now. So what this involves is we'll have to demo this building. We'll install the new building, which is approximately about 6, maybe 7 feet taller, maybe not even that much taller than the existing building. But let me point out, and there's another picture I can actually show you of the existing. We have the existing in one of the files. And what we have is, if you go back, you'll see from the street. Let's see, it may be in the other 4. The other 4, there's another set of files that says presentation HOA. I don't know if you had that problem. Well, from the street itself, the typical person will not even notice that there's a difference in the building. Once it's done, it's gonna look identical, very, very identical to what we have presently right now. The difference, of course, will be, there'll be 2.5 bathrooms as opposed to 1 bathroom. Sewer has already been approved. We're waiting for the letter from the water district for approval, and I don't foresee any problems there because we have the meter size and everything is more than meets the requirements. We could go to the floor plan and I can show you the floor plan if you want. That'd be on either 2.1 or 2.2. Isn't it great that it has things on screen so we don't have to go through paper? Okay, that's RV garage and unit here, right there. And what you have is you have the longer RV garage, the other one was shorter. Basically, the 2-car garage on the 1.5 car garage, 1-car garage is identical, very similar to what we had before. And then we have the ADU behind that. And then there's a family rec room that he's added. He's gonna be using as his own home office / family rec room. Okay, that portion didn't exist. We also have on the building itself, they've added that they're extending the living room as well. But I don't believe and there would be any question regarding that because that's a standard room addition. Scroll down just a little bit, you can see the pool. I'm on top, forward, I'm sorry. Did I show the pool? No, let's go to the site plan then, which would be A11. Yeah, let's go down to, yeah, that's the existing site plan, go down to A1.2. And as you can see, the little pools.
There's a pointer right around there.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are high tech. I'm
Yep,
impressed.
it's the green.
Did I tell you I'm impressed? So right here is that little pool that's in place right now. So this whole structure, this is the RV garage. This is the new 1-car garage. This is the ADU. This is a rec room. And here's an addition that's being added, extending the existing family room right there. The actual addition isn't this square area because the existing building goes right here. So we're actually removing we'll remove the walls, the ceiling of that area right there, and we'll actually extend the building out approximately 16 feet. And I do have that other picture of the existing around in one of the files and kind of show that from the street itself, the profile is negligible. It'd be in the HOA presentation one, which would be all the rendering. And I didn't even make a copy of that one.
Is it this one?
No, it'd be 4 sheets of all renderings. It'd be a separate file, I believe. They may not have transferred that over. But from the street itself, if you looked at the before and after, to the naked eye, if someone came back magically the next day after you put it up, they would never notice the difference.
So the original garage was an RV garage?
They had an RV garage, but the depth was ridiculous. I mean, unless you're gonna park it.
It had the same height door?
It didn't have the same height door. It was, what was the height of the existing door? Maybe 10 feet.
It's more than 8 feet.
It might be 10 feet.
And how much is this one?
This one would be, I think it's 12 feet
So significantly higher.
or 2 feet higher. It may not, I have to go to the schedule. It's been a while since I, let's see, try A2. 2.4, 2.56. You just scroll down until we see the, we'll look at the schedule here. Right there. That's the,
This one?
down low.
Now,
This one?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
So 80 garage. I'd be
Maybe
close.
you can zoom into the.
I don't know if I can read it or not. So it's, that's with the schedule, but that's where schedule.
It's,
With 12 foot. I think the original was 10 foot. Or is, as it is, but it's still in place.
This lot is on the top of the hill. The lot to the left of it is significantly lower, isn't it?
Actually, as you come up, it's a really nice cul-de-sac. As you come up, this one is here and the tallest building is straight ahead, the tallest lot. The one to the right, and Dave, correct me if I'm right, the one to the right is probably a little bit higher than yours, the one directly across the street. That's what I remember.
And behind it is that, there's no lot there, right? That's,
There, it's wide open spaces, houses are considerably, far distance. That's why I showed the rear, I'll try to have it running in the rear. Height wise, we're definitely not higher than the house, with the structure here. And with the additions and everything, I can't see where that's gonna be a burden. We do have a 30-foot setback, which we follow religiously on the original CCNRs. These lots have a 30-foot setback, so we actually had a surveyor go out, plot it exactly, because we had to get it within inches, make sure that we weren't in compliance, out of compliance.
it looks like you had a very difficult time parking this thing in the backyard.
Indeed.
And there are some very odd shapes that you end up with.
Yes, it is,
But I don't really care about that. It's just that it's very. There's unusable spaces there now. Has this been reviewed by the local architectural review? The homeowners?
the homeowners has a copy of it.
So they reviewed it?
I don't know the date of it.
they are in process. You're overlapping their
When did you give it to them recently?
10 or 15 days. They've had it for two and a half weeks.
Okay, so that's just recently.
I don't foresee any problem. We would obviously report back right away if there's a problem, but I don't see any real problem with it because again, it's within the height, well within the height limitation. It's really kind of, and I wish I had that other picture to show you, because that would show you the scale, because you're always worried about scale, is this thing gonna be a monstrosity sticking out? And it isn't, because if it were in a different setting, i.e. not maybe up closer or something like that, it could, maybe the scale could be a little bit of a more apparent. But it's back there and it's, the driveway is like this, it comes up, it goes up probably about 5-6 foot.
Well, as a minor point too, you can't get an RV, I don't think, on that driveway. You're gonna have to modify that, right?
Actually, he has a trailer and it's a trailer combination that he's using and he feels confident that he can pull in and back in. Now, with that said, yes, if I were going from day one, and not trying to meet the existing, the space we have, yes, I'm in agreement with you. I would be looking at it differently, but within those confines, we didn't have that luxury. And the owner feels more than confident that he can function with this.
Is the entire depth of that RV space needed for his trailer?
Trailer and truck,
So it is?
yes.
That long wall facing the neighbor you need to do something with it. I mean, it's
I tried to,
it's a drive-in movie theater.
It's a good start.
Yeah, it's a bad look for your neighbor.
We can always add architectural treatments to it, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
But
There's certain, the upper,
I eliminated the number of windows in there.
I'm not sure that helped.
Yeah, I think.
It made it worse probably. But that, you have to design that side differently somehow. Need to break up the roof, or you need to put it, even more fenestration in the walls to make it look interesting, but that, just say it's pretty bad. You can't see the rest of your house. It's tucked in behind it, your addition. So that's fine. But that big wall thing is gonna be needs to be redone somehow. That.
With regards to the neighbor up the page, is he higher or lower than you?
Trying to remember.
Maybe 6 or 8 feet.
We're lower.
We're a little bit lower.
He is lower, or you are lower? They are.
Wow. I'm gonna, this will guess, maybe 2 feet. I don't have a satellite photo showing where the existing owner is, it's like a relationship, but that's kind of an abandoned part of their, not an important part of their lot, but I can either prove or disprove that. 'Cause I don't know.
I was just curious as to where they were.
What's the height? Gene, I can't read from here. What's the height to the top plate of the RV garage here?
16 feet 3.
What's the top of the windows there? That looks like they're pretty low.
Yeah, I did,
Compared, when you look at.
we could add them higher. I think I had them higher originally and then we lowered.
The door looks like it's approximately half the height of the structure, and then when you come to the side, the top of the windows look like they're maybe only a third. Maybe it's an optical illusion to me, but.
They're probably set at standard, 34, 36 inches off the floor, just like a standard window in a house.
Could be, that's just unfortunately it's low there, but.
Would you consider hitting the back of that roof, or is that just,
Next
or is it possible? I can't tell what's going on the other
The
side.
hip in the back end of it would improve it, but there's so many things you could do here. I really feel like I shouldn't try to design it for you, but just that doesn't look good. See, you fix it.
I've got some concerns about interfacing with the homeowners association on this. There's no guarantee that the homeowners association is going to approve it or not approve it. And I've seen way too many fights between homeowners associations, architects, owners, where it stalls the process within one of the architectural review boards. Personally, I would rather see what the architectural review of the homeowners association says before this proceeds.
Yeah, I think we're agendized for conceptual.
Yeah.
So we've got time to have them review it.
I just want to add, I can appreciate that you want to understand that from a neighborhood compatibility perspective. But based on the county's ordinance, we can't consider private agreements or private contracts. Like, we would move forward with approval regardless.
Shannon, can you?
And just let me add, I don't have a problem changing, I appreciate the feedback on that, because obviously I had a little bit of a problem with it myself. Okay, but how can I put it? Everybody has an opinion, and granted, and I appreciate it, because I did have a little bit of a problem with this myself, because it is a big, how can I make that without spending the owner's money needlessly, right? Because we're trying to keep costs in a reasonable amount. The windows, yeah, they're lower. We could raise up the windows so that there's you're not looking into the property. That would be. I could even add some architectural features. We could put a hip on I'm just spitballing here, so that and put a hip on the backside of both roofs there, that would downplay the size to some degree. Other than that, I don't know what we could do other than landscaping.
You can think of something.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, one thing you can consider here, and I agree with Jim, we're not here to design it for you. All the elements that you show here, the primary elements are all horizontal. And what you're most trying to do is break up the horizontal mass of the structure. So think along those lines. I mean, your trim, your windows are all low horizontal. There's nothing vertical here that breaks this up. Okay, that's
right.
Think along those lines. The hip roof would help. Again, it would break up. I mean, you have two opposing type of roofs on the same element, essentially.
Yeah, I tried to meet the original design.
So
That's
those
what I
are
was
some
following.
considerations. But the other question is for the planner. What is the clearance requirement between accessory buildings and the existing house?
7 feet. 5 feet.
It's, for this zone, it's 5 feet.
5 feet, because those are pretty close together, and those masses are big, it's gonna, feel a ton of light.
Hold on a second.
That's,
I thought there had to be, I thought it was 7 feet by the fire code.
It's possible that fire has something more restrictive for us, the building separation between a dwelling and, well, also this other side of this building will be a dwelling, but yeah, if fire might have something more restrictive, our setback for the purposes of, I think this is Evelyn, is 5 feet building separation.
I think it's.
And Francisco's here too, I don't want to.
The wildfire resistant area doesn't have any additional setback requirements. It's based on material and ventilation. So I can say with 90%, 95% confidence, unless there's something out there that, you know, that in a specific zone that we're not aware of, it's always 5 feet.
I was only thinking from the planning standpoint. But there are building code.
No, I've been surprised, you know, on height limitations, you know, in unique areas before, so. I mean, you learn something new every day in this business, right?
Shannon, can you speak on the maximum size of the ADU?
I'm not the best person to ask about the ADU ordinance, I just don't ever review them. Francisco, do you know what they're proposing here for the, or I can check the.
862.
862. So once it's over 800 square feet, it has to meet some additional standards, but it's under the separate BDP that we would review it.
Right. Well, my concern is that when you have direct access from the ADU living space into the garage, then that garage area becomes part of the ADU size, and it speaks to the maximum requirement.
That's not, you know, I can tell you what I know. I can tell you what, I do quite a few ADUs. Okay, so if this meets the detached ADU, in theory, it's allowed up to 1,200 square feet by the governance of the, you know, government. If it's a attached, you can only go 1,000. Now attached needs to be to the main residence. I've been through this multiple. It's not attached to the garage. So the garage itself, I've done ADUs all the way from Palm Springs to Santa Rosa, California. And in that time, having attached to the garage has never been an issue in regards to the interpretation of the ADU, I don't know, guidelines or whatever they call them from the governor. I forget what the original client or the original guest house was, maybe 600 square feet. We'll just spend all the head somewhere in that area. But yes, so those are the requirements. Of course, then you've also heard of the junior ADU, which is it actually has to be under the exact same roof and has to be part of the residence. You cannot, for example, do an addition on the junior ADU. Okay, so I shared that with you because, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions and I've been part of it. So it's been a learning curve for myself as well. So I try to study and be learned in regards to the requirements.
The only reason I bring it up is a project that I was involved with we were told that in order for us to build the AU the size that we wanted, that we could not have direct access into the attached garage that was part of that structure. So we maximized the size of the living space. I cut off the access to the garage.
I'll be honest, I've never seen that. I do know, like, if you go, I've done Santa Barbara, city of Santa Barbara, for example, they're really on it, on the site plan. They're really has specific requirements. Some of the requirements are actually very similar to the county as well. And I haven't seen that. Well, we can eliminate the door if that's the issue, but
No,
I don't, to my knowledge, I don't believe, and I could be wrong, because
I think it's just something you want to verify.
Yeah.
yeah, I can verify that, but it's interesting. If that happened, I would be surprised. But you have a good point. I mean,
Yeah, verification would be great, because that's gonna affect everything else going
but
on.
I mean, I've seen it just recently, for example, there was a county requirement, Santa Barbara County, that they don't have in other counties. For example, if you, in Santa Barbara County, if you do a junior ADU and you're gonna do it in the garage, you actually have to have replacement parking behind the setback. Okay, now, there's only two places that I know in the state of California, because I've done a lot of them. One is the city of Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara County that have that requirement. No one else has it, to my knowledge. I haven't done every city, obviously, but.
Okay.
So that's just to share with you. So you learn something new every day. I mean.
Absolutely. Any other comments from the board?
So could we summarize? So I'll add some hit proofs
I might just
and
study that view a little bit
and I think you had some valid points on the concerning vertical versus horizontal architectural treatments. Obviously, yeah, I may take a shortcut on this. You know, I may not have put the.
I think what we're suggesting is that you study this elevation
Right.
and the other elevations and how they relate together, and then.
All the other elevations, I have done that in relationship to the house. It matches the house exactly.
And don't think what we told you is a checklist in any way, like this will work. You look at it and fix it. Okay.
Okay, we'll certainly do that.
Any other comments? Okay. Well, as this again is advisory, just take those comments and then we look forward to the project coming back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Michael, before we proceed, just for the records, can we just ask for public comment?
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this particular project? Anyone online?
We do not have anybody. Thank you.
Thank
Just for
you.
the records.
Just for the records. Keep me straight. There
That's
you go.
good, thank you.
All right, moving on to the final. Is this the last?
I think it is the last one.
All right, moving on to BR number 23-00094, the First Assembly of God Pacific Christian Center Modular Classroom. If you are ready, go ahead and introduce yourself for the record and begin your presentation.
I'm John Slobodnik, I'm a project engineer for the Annie Building Corporation. I'm the one who put together the package. I'm not Rick White. Our project here consists of dropping a modular building on a current asphalt surface. The asphalt surface right now slopes from the northeast corner to the southwest corner, about 10 inches.
Could you indicate that with your pointer?
Oh, how do you use this thing? Okay, there it is. There's the building. And unfortunately, north is that way on this particular layout. So that is a high corner right there. And it goes across the face about 6 inches, dropping. It goes about 3/4 fairly flat, then it starts dropping. The back corner is about 10 inches farther down than the front corner. Amazing how I can't hold that thing nicely. So what we're doing is we're taking an API modular building. It's separated into 2 classrooms. What we have is basically this building Isn't pretty. It matches basically the same layout as, and I'm having trouble seeing here, there's a
Yeah,
modular
it
building
does.
there and a modular building there. It looks pretty much the same. We have on this side here, we have ramps, ADA ramps going up into the building. There'll be 2 exterior lights on that side. On the back side, there's just a big blank wall. On this end and that end, there's an AC unit. This is an old plan. We've got over here, there's a canopy, an open canopy for lunch, and that's the library building. And these are some storage bins right there. Some basically C-trains. They're sitting right there. The project is pretty. It's on a hill. But this is all pretty flat here. The building is serviced, I don't know if you don't care about ADA, but there's restrooms here and there's ADA access to those restrooms overland. The property slopes off to the back here. So basically, the way this project presents itself is you can't see it from Santa Maria Way except from down here. You can see this portion here. Hillview has got such a slope right here that anybody down in this area can't really see this. And we're not really changing the elevation too much from what you're already looking at. This elevation being blank is going to repeat this elevation that you're already looking at. So there'll be a new fence line that goes across the back and reconnects with the existing fence line. And that's pretty much the simplest way I can explain it.
There's an existing library there, right?
Yeah, the library is right here.
And is that a modular too?
No, that's actually a sick frame building on a slab. It doesn't have any plumbing to it, but we're pulling our power for this building out of that. There's right now in that corner there's a little shed, and it has a little sub panel in it that was used for charging golf carts. We're going to be setting a Christie box in the ground and then just extending to, there's 2 panels on that end of the building that will be sitting there, and you'll see those. I have some pictures of the building. It's actually at API. They're almost finished with it.
Are there any trees or anything to the right?
There's a tree right over here in a planter. And
That's the only one, right?
that's the only one. The rest of this is just open field. There's some bushes along here. Across the way here, this is a grassed area, and there's just bushes and just, I believe there's some trees in the parking area and stuff.
Now, you said it was you're gonna place it on an existing paved,
Yes.
what was that? What is it used for now? Is that a parking lot? or-
Well, right now, it was the lunch area, the open lunch area. And a while ago, the canopy that was over it got moved over here for that building to go into its place. So the photographs that aren't in this particular file, they're in another file. They show shots from around the area looking at this spot, so you can see where the canopy is. And I don't know, yeah, that should be, well, up a few pages on that one.
On the other one?
Okay, so that's the library. This is where the building's gonna go, 10 foot off of it. Then if you go to the next picture.
It's a kindergarten. Is there an enclosed kindergarten area?
This was going to be a kindergarten. It's not anymore because it's not big enough. They're gonna maintain their existing kindergarten where it is because they're larger rooms they can handle. Smaller kids need more room. And so after evaluating the situation, they decided that it wasn't gonna hold enough students that would pay for itself. So it's gonna be upper grades. So the area across the street from it is the kindergarten play area. And that's off of the existing kindergarten rooms, which I don't know where they are. So if we go to the next picture. Again, there's a structure, there's a little structure we're taking out. That's where we're gonna get our power from. Also, there's water in the area and sewer in the area, so we'll just be extending at the most from across the street over and tying into the building with our other services. And we're also bringing a data cable. It'll come down the face of the building over and back up the face. We'll have data communication will be serviced also. And this is for the handicap access right through here, which we're going to have to take that ramp there and re-asphalt it when we patch the other utilities and continues over to the new one. It's the next picture here. That's a picture of the modulars across the street, and this is actually the ramp that goes down to the restrooms.
What is that roof material like?
This is actually a fascia. Our roof material, I'm not too sure what the roof material is on this building, but ours is going to be TPO white. And this color, this trim color and this color here are the colors of the new modular building. We basically took the paint numbers from when they painted these buildings and we transferred it on. So the trim colors will be the dark brown. The base color is just that, I call it the dark tone Navajo white. It's a beige. So the new building will look just like that, which kind of matches mostly the plaster on the library also.
This structure looks like it was recessed into the grade.
Am
I misreading the drawing?
No, this existing one is kind of flat and it's filled with gravel there. The building is actually raised and it has a skirt that comes down. This little piece right here, that covers up the bottom channel of the building. So this one is not that far off. The grade does slope away a little bit there. Ours will be similar. We're setting this building down as low as we can in order to make the handicap ramps work.
Have you considered recessing it?
No, we haven't considered recessing it. It's going to be, the finished floor is going to be about 12 inches off of grade. And we're basically going to allow the flow, rain flow, to go underneath the building. It's going to be on 2x12 pressure treated pier pads that are anchored into the asphalt. And then there'll be there's connections for lateral and everything like that underneath it. So the whole idea was that we didn't want to recess it because of the expense.
You know if they're gonna put any more modules in that area?
I don't know what their future plans are.
And are they disturbing any landscaping around it?
No,
Should we put landscaping around it?
it's got asphalt around it entirely right now, and we're relying on that asphalt for access.
And on the backside?
The backside is a lawn area.
You said it was, I thought it was open. You said,
It's open, but if I recall off the edge, just go up another, go up on another one. You can kind of see
from the Hillview side.
Yeah, let's go up with another picture. That's another one. Here we go. This is what's on the backside. So we have this lawn area here. Right now, those are tables that were left there. Those are going to be moved and there is another fence. So the building, the top of the library is right over there, and the peak of our building is going to be about the same height.
How are they gonna access the lawn area now?
Well, you have that right there, and it's open around the other area. It's open through.
Is that a road that goes to Hillview?
Yes. What'll happen is the building will be in here and it'll cover up that modular, this thing. This is the canopy right now. So I call it you're trading elevations. What you've got is a backside of a couple of modulars right now. You're going to get the same thing, only moved up closer. It'll cover that whole thing up. So
What do they use that grass area for? Just
playground area? Yeah, it's an open playground area.
that's when you grass area.
Yeah. They have a lot of grass out there. That field kind of wraps all the way around out here. It's up on a plateau. So from Hillview, you don't really see this. From way down Santa Maria Way, you can see it, but it's quite a ways because of the way that it slopes and everything. I think there should be one more picture. Yeah, This is stepping down a little bit. You can see the canopy a little bit better. Again, the building's gonna be right in this area here. The top of the canopy and the top of our building will be about the same height. This is sunk down a little bit.
I missed the, what's the roof on the new? Where is it sloped?
It's sloped from the peak, from the middle out to both ends. And at both ends, there'll be the gutters and downspouts that'll take water out to the downhill side. Then we'll just put it back on the asphalt.
There's short overhangs on.
No, there's no overhangs. It's just right to the edge and that's it.
Standard API building.
It's an API framework. What it is.
Shipping container.
Well, not a shipping container. It's actually, it's framed up. You know, it's got everything set into it exactly what we want it to be. So it's not gonna look too much different than what's already there. I think that's the big thing. Then, oh, here's the tree that's next to it.
What's the current population of the school?
Do
you have any idea?
It's 400 and some odd. It was in the write-up here, thinking 430. And once they add this in, it's gonna be around 490 and they're allowed up to 525 or 530. It is in the write-up.
Well, the only reason I was asking is because of the size of the play area. I mean, when you have that number of kids in there, you know, whatever we do to try to screen that building is gonna take away that play area from that play area. Aesthetically, you know, yeah, it looks like there's a fence along the lunch area.
Yeah,
And it's completely fenced around.
it'll be, but there's a temp fence there right now, but we'll end up having a fenced area around that and we'll reconnect to the permanent fence that's way over here somewhere.
So the play area itself will be completely fenced.
Yeah.
I think something to think about, Mike, when the comment that you made, to screen it. We don't typically screen the school buildings from the school playgrounds.
Right.
There's no
So
windows on it.
it's in keeping with.
For safety and stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically in keeping with the use that they're using it for, so I wouldn't want to recommend any other additional landscaping that would be destroyed probably and probably be counterproductive to the use. It is what it is. Basically it's a school and it's a school building and it's no different than any other relocatable if you went to Rigetti or Santa Maria or any one of the other buildings.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, my only thought is that what we're really doing here aesthetically from Hillview is just magnifying the view by moving that building forward. They've been looking at this for.
Except
30
for
years.
Hillview, they're a good 8 feet downhill. And
Well, I
then
meant
they're
just-
looking at the side of the bank.
Just aesthetically, I mean, you can see the existing modular from Hillview.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is just bringing that existing modular forward.
They're bringing it forward, yes.
So their view really isn't gonna change.
No, it's gonna be pretty much the same.
So I understand the purpose of the modulars. Are they temporary in your mind?
They're temporary. I don't know if they're temporary. They're installed, so they can be removed. They'll still have to be.
Because, I mean, to me, you have a reasonably attractive sanctuary building and the library building, and now you're putting this plethora of marginally unattractive little structures out there. And it seems, you've spent a lot of effort and time to create an attractive building, and now the site is just being overrun with little container buildings and API trailers and what have you. I get it, it's a short-term solution and economical, but it's not particularly attractive. Unfortunately, I think you mentioned at Rigetti and these other, where they put the modulars in there. Unfortunately, we don't have purview over that.
Relocatables.
Yeah, that, you know, that'll be there until
they relocate.
Yeah. And I understand that situation and that's simply a concept. So to me, whatever we can do to make this feel like more of a part of the original development and more of the original concept here and not just like thumbtacks on the wall, and would be appreciated. I agree with Michael. I don't think landscape screening is the answer. When it's,
Maybe a happy kids in your homes.
Leave that up to the students.
You can put it on the fence.
there's the old adage that, you know.
And they do things like that, and it does add a lot of, it's.
Say it again?
A mural on the side, you can kind of add. You could have a tree and lawn and flowers and, for the kids,
I personally think a mural is the answer.
something like that. I mean, it's another outside the kind of general box theory. Instead of trying to do it with the structure and trying to do it with plants, do it with.
Yeah, I think that's along the lines of what we asked when we looked at the YMCA.
Some
When they
different, yeah.
put their modular building out there with their
As well.
parachute camp.
So, anyway.
Good idea.
It looks like your agenda is for all of it.
Yeah, we're kind of on a tight frame here. We submitted the building plans and everything before the end of the year, and then when it got to looking like we weren't gonna get a permit this year because of the backlog in building. We went to the county board of supervisors and they helped us along there, and that's what got us into this position. We didn't even know we had to make that. Now, I'm a contractor. I didn't know I had a submittal to planning and go to.
Put on a nice shirt.
Put on a nice shirt, so something aside boots and Levi's. And yeah, that's actually, the next pictures of the pictures of the building. I'll go up a couple more. Not that one. That's the side that you enter into.
Like that construction, take a structure.
Yeah, next one up, next one up. With another one. There it is. That's the side you're gonna be looking at.
It's attractive.
Yeah, with us, with one of those units at each end. And on the other end, you have two electrical panels that you won't see that, but that's the side.
I think that's actually an air conditioner.
That's an air conditioner, yes.
And Kylie Brown is the planner on this one. She's in attendance, but I think she had scheduled it for all three because it matches the existing ones across the way and wanted to give you the opportunity to act on all of it if you wanted to do so.
Maybe Chelsea, maybe the board is saying.
We are planning on, of course, they're already taking applications for this space for this next school year. They have a plan B, but we would like to get it installed and we don't expect to meet the beginning of the school year. But we'd like to get it up and running in the first quarter or so.
Okay, so. Let me ask one, does the board have any additional comments or suggestions that they'd like to make? Shannon and Kylie, do you have any difficulty with reviewing this under everything?
Hi, this is Kylie, the planner. Shannon was correct about it matching some existing buildings, and I also had some details in a planner memo that you should have received. And so if you want to take a look at that, there was a similar building that was previously approved by your board. So that we thought it was fitting to agendize it for conceptual, prelim and final, so that you can take action if you would like to.
Around 86, right?
That's when we did it. No. That's what we had.
Public comment.
Okay. Yeah, is there any one in the public that would like to speak on this particular item? Virtually or in person?
We do not have anybody in the public and no one online. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We would like to see overhangs on things that.
So, gentlemen,
Yes.
I was talking to these gentlemen.
Okay. Jeff.
Uses the word loosely.
Loosely. I believe we understand the need. I believe we understand that it is going to be very minimal change to the campus with regards to appearance and aesthetic. Obviously, our concerns are modular buildings versus stick frame architecture versus a box But at the same time, this is my opinion. The view isn't gonna change. We are merely magnifying some of the views by relocating this building. So I don't see any issue with it. I do like the idea that they get those kids that are gonna be in that building to draw something on the wall that's not considered graffiti. And I'm of the mindset to grant preliminary and final approval for this. I'd open now up the discussion of the members. Any comment? Thank you.
I understand the need as well, and I'm looking at a Google Street View, and yeah, I understand what you mean by magnified a little bit. I'd love to see a little bit more on it, but maybe some drawings on the side or murals or something would be okay. Anyway, that's all.
Question, can final approval be conditioned upon something being done on that wall?
It would have to come back with.
I don't know that we can retroactively.
Could do final on consent, that would be one way to achieve.
Well, whether or not it gets put on there, I mean, it can get put on by API. And delivered.
Just or can we go kind of off the record?
There is no off the record.
But I don't want to give you, I'm not trying to design, but when you look at the sign, the big sign, maybe you kind of take the idea back to the owner since you're the contractor. What if you actually put something on the side of there that was just facade trim that looked like a couple of windows and doors and something just to kind of dress it up just a little bit that made it look pretty, but didn't really cost the ownership, much, just basically just something 2x4 width stuck to it, but that would, and then painted that looked like windows and a door, but not, that really weren't windows and door and really didn't affect the structure in any way, shape, size, or form. Just a thought, just an outside half.
There's a motel in San Luis that has a whole wall done like that.
I've seen them before and it just, hey, you look at you. Hold on, it takes a minute, but at a distance, it doesn't look like just a big blank canvas.
Yeah, we could.
I'm
Again,
reluctant
speaking on the
to.
record, because I can't speak for the owner, but hiring a muralist to put something up there that basically makes the building disappear is possible too.
I hate to condition it that way, but it's a suggestion that might just kind of make the whole. It might be beneficial to the whole school.
Yeah, the concern with having the students do a mural.
Yeah.
Is control. And
Pretty at 3 feet high.
Imagine it just connects into the campus.
Yeah.
But,
I've moved to final this thing and let them figure it out, Mike.
It's friendlier than to paint it.
I think he's got some ideas and I think that he'll probably take them back to the ownership and they'll probably, consider it. It may not be immediate, but it might be something that they do put into their whole think tank in their parish and they might come up with something.
well, a motion is now on the floor to grant final approval on this project pending, well, not pending, but requesting.
Warmly requesting.
Warmly requesting a mural put on that building, either by staff, students, or a muralist. With that said, do I have a second on that motion? Sure. We have a second and a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
The only request.
with that said, thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
For your time.
Yeah. good.
Yeah. I like the idea of a move.
It could be a contest.
Oh, you never know, who would be in church, maybe one of those people.
All right. With that said now, and that being the last time on today's agenda, I will ask for a motion to close this meeting, please. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great weekend.
Happy 4th, to all of you guys.
That's right.